1 year after a fragile ceasefire, the Israeli-Lebanese border is once again in the crossfire. Israel and Hezbollah are closer to renewed war than ever before. Israeli Defense Minister Israel Katz has vowed to step up attacks against Hezbollah in Lebanon, backing his threat with intensified military strikes. He also accused the Lebanese president of delaying efforts to disarm Hezbollah. Despite the ceasefire deal, Israel maintains troops and regular strikes in the south. Now, with Washington warning Beirut that time is running out to disarm Hezbollah, the country finds itself standing at a dangerous crossroads. In this episode, we asked one big question: is a new war imminent in Lebanon? I'm Hani Saif, and this is Think Tank.
Our world is becoming unhinged.
A year after the ceasefire, Israel and Hezbollah are closer than ever to renewed war. While the Lebanese government agreed 2 months ago to disarm Hezbollah, the Jerusalem Post reports that the plan is stalled, with little progress on the ground. Israeli Defense Minister Israel Katz has threatened to ramp up military actions in Lebanon. Though the newspaper notes that Hezbollah is not the same force it once was, Israel appears, for now, to be raising the temperature gradually. According to the Jerusalem Post, this slow pace by Beirut, despite occasional efforts by the Lebanese army against arms stockpiles, has drawn concern from both Israeli and American officials, who note that Hezbollah continues to smuggle missiles, recruit fighters, and rebuild bases, effectively undermining the government's disarmament efforts.
Tensions are rapidly escalating along the Israeli-Lebanese border, with Israel warning it may intensify strikes on Hezbollah positions in southern Lebanon. The warning came a day after a deadly Israeli airstrike that killed 4 people, according to Lebanon's health ministry. Israeli Defense Minister Israel Katz accused Beirut of dragging its feet in disarming Hezbollah, while Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu declared that Israel will act as necessary should Lebanon fail to curb the group's rearmament. Under last year's ceasefire deal, only Lebanese state forces are permitted to carry weapons. Lebanese army officials said they have destroyed numerous Hezbollah arms caches, so many that they ran out of explosives, and expect to complete disarmament operations in the south by year's end. Hezbollah, weakened after its war with Israel, has largely honored the truce, but maintains that disarmament applies only to southern Lebanon. The group warns that broad enforcement could spark conflict, arguing that disarmament is impossible while Israel continues to violate the ceasefire and attack Lebanese territory. Hezbollah insists that Israel's repeated strikes breach the truce and threaten national sovereignty, justifying its continued armament as self-defense. With U.S. pressure mounting and Israeli strikes intensifying, Lebanon stands at a dangerous crossroads, where the collapse of the ceasefire appears increasingly imminent.
For more understanding of the situation in Lebanon, we're joined from Beirut by Mr. Ahmed Yunus, the researcher and political analyst, and by Mr. Marcel Balouchi, the military and strategic expert. Gentlemen, welcome to Think Tank. Sir, Mr. Yunus, I'll ask you first. Now, Israel's Prime Minister and Defense Minister are issuing direct threats, while the U.S. is intensifying its pressure. In light of the recent Israeli rhetoric and deadly strikes, how real is the danger that the ceasefire in Lebanon is on the verge of total collapse?
Good evening to you and to your audience and to your guest. Thank you for having me in this interview. From a political perspective, Israel's main goal seems to be pushing Lebanon towards disarming Hezbollah and opening direct negotiations. Something Beirut has long resisted. So the repeated statements by Israel Defense Minister accusing Lebanese President Joseph Aoun of what we call stalling in the disarmament process and his threats to intensify attacks are part of a coordinated campaign. Israel is combining military pressure with diplomatic and psychological tactics to corner Lebanon politically, testing both the government unity and the limits of Hezbollah's patience. At the same time, the the United States is increasing its involvement, echoing Israel's demands while trying to avoid a full-scale regional conflict. So Washington's envoy has even called on Lebanon to negotiate directly with Israel, a step that would mark a major political shift. So, however, such pressure risks destabilizing Lebanon internally, as any move seen as normalization under fire could provoke a backlash from political forces aligned with Hezbollah and from the broader public, which views Israel as the aggressor.
Mhm. Mr. Baluchi, Israel is intensifying its attacks, resulting in several casualties. How do you assess the immediate military risk of this escalation, and where's the threshold between targeted strikes and a wider conflict?
Good evening to you, to everyone who's watching, and to your guests. The Lebanese situation here, their goal is escalation. All the negotiations and the talks and the initiative and the media pressure. And we have even mediators. And then when it comes to the mechanism committee is monitoring the UNIFIL, and then the military plan. They're trying to get to the next phases, but they're facing obstacles. They implemented the first phase, but they're now stuck because of the military resolution that isn't yet implemented. And the Lebanese wall is not, from below going up. The solution comes from above, because decision making is not in the hands of the Lebanese government. It is in the hands of some politicians and officials that are still living in the past and use time to manipulate things and just take advantage of the buffer time that they have. But when it comes to this decision of the urgency of military operations, I think that it came late, because there were opportunities for the Egyptian initiatives, for example, and then the U.S. now, they have kind of lost hope, and they are trying to have some regional influence and to give the Lebanese military some kind of chance, especially that the conflict now is all over Lebanon, and they are negotiating with Israel on the 1550 arms, and they are trying to make the problem look like it is because of the disarmament and so on, but it goes beyond that, and it is an Arab and Islamic decision, and they have a hand in implementing it, and Hezbollah is still refusing to listen and to disarm, because they say that Israel hasn't done anything from its part. But yeah, Hezbollah disarmament will be followed by Israel's withdrawal and so on, and so everyone is trying to escape and install the agreement and the president's decision of combating the military because we don't have like the Arab and Islamic support, and there is no coordination or there is no being on the same page inside Lebanon, and so like supporting the military and combating will only result, it is just a show basically.
Well, regarding the disarmament process, Mr. Yunus, the Lebanese army has reportedly destroyed numerous Hezbollah arms caches to the point of running out of explosives. Now, what does this logistical strain reveal about the seriousness of the Lebanese state's commitment to the disarmament process? How might it complicate the year-end deadline then?
We know that for years, Lebanon has struggled to assert full control over all weapons outside its official forces. And this new activity signals that the government is taking steps rather than merely issuing statements. The fact that the army has reportedly run out of explosives suggests both the intensity of its operations and the scale of the hidden arsenals being uncovered. So, however, this logistical strain also exposes the limits of Lebanon's capabilities. Running out of the tool needed to continue such operation reveals that the army may not be fully equipped or funded to sustain this pace. So it highlights the chronic under resourcing of Lebanese state institutions, which depends heavily on foreign aid and technical support. Without additional logistical and financial backing, the disarmament process could stall, undermining both its credibility and momentum. So politically, if we can say, the army's actions put pressure on Hezbollah and its allies, sending a message that the state intends to reclaim its security authority. So this move is highly sensitive. Hezbollah, we know, remains a powerful political and military actor with broad grassroots support. If not carefully managed, these operations could increase internal tensions and deepen divisions between state institutions and parts of the population that see Hezbollah as a protector rather than a threat.
Mr. Baluchi, the Israeli Defense Minister Yisrael Katz has openly threatened to expand the military operations in southern Lebanon. Now, from your experience and your perspective, is this rhetoric primarily a genuine military warning, or is it just a pressure tactic intended to influence Lebanese political dynamics?
So far, the goal is having negotiations, and especially Lebanon and Beirut, as they look at the group. They cannot go there because they don't have much field soldiers, and they cannot take more. But it comes to taking over control of some lands and some targeting officials and so on. And the war, like, it wasn't really a war, and Hezbollah refuses the concept of a road war. They are trying to have to practice self discipline so that they can combat and respond to Israel, and so that they have there is some kind of balance of power. And so this is why the operations and targeting the officials will not broaden. But I want to comment on something. The military is ready on so many levels, like Jordan and the USA. And so yes, they have the capacity to implement the government resolutions, but it is not just about this. The resolution goes beyond that. It is political, and it needs it needs clear implementation, not just giving or declaring a decision and then stopping. The Lebanese government gave them just the, the first phase only, and they didn't declare the rest of the decisions. And so it is not just about their readiness or so on. And then the equation here we have Israel's refusal to withdraw, and Hezbollah is refusing to give up their arms, and the Arab and Islamic world wants them to give up their arms, and so things are just hanging there. And we know, yes, that Israel has a destructive army, and so the first step has to be from our side. And we saw that in the region there has been some changes, like the strikes on Iran and so on, and now Iran cannot support any. They cannot support us, especially after the Sharm el-Sheikh agreement, and so here things aren't going well in Lebanon. And yeah, we will hear about some negotiations, and maybe we will have some kind of mechanism committee. Yes, but things will keep on being stalled because all the parties are using time to manipulate and are actually using the readiness. And we just need an agreement. We need a new agreement, not the one that we already have, like what happened in Syria, for example. But yeah, Lebanon isn't ready for and so yeah, we need some minister or politician. We need a technical preparations, and when we need technical negotiations basically, so that things can get better. So yes, we need the government to have some resolutions, and then the military, for example, will implement this.
Yes, well, Mr. Yunus, whether it's a genuine military threat or a pressure tactic, what is the ultimate political objective Israel is seeking through its current military pressure? Is it genuinely aimed merely at Hezbollah's disarmament, or the establishment maybe of a formal buffer zone, or both, or something else entirely?
Israel seeks to weaken Hezbollah's operational capacity, limit its influence in southern Lebanon, and push for a new security arrangement that ensures long-term Israeli freedom of movement and deterrence. So the idea of establishing a formal buffer zone is also central to Israel's strategy. Such a zone, whether enforced directly or indirectly through international forces, would serve to push Hezbollah's presence farther from the border and reducing the risk of rocket attacks and infiltration. So this would effectively change the post 2006 as we see by UN Resolution 1701, under which Hezbollah was supposed to stay north of the Litani River, but never fully complied. So for Israel, I think achieving even a de facto buffer zone would be a strategic victory without needing a full-scale war. At the diplomatic level, Israel is using this campaign to test the international community's stance on Hezbollah and Lebanon, both, by framing its actions as defensive and necessary for national security. So it aims to rally Western and regional support, or at least tolerance for stronger measures. So the U.S., I think the U.S. pressure on Beirut to curb Hezbollah's power complements this approach, even if Washington's tone is more cautious to avoid a wider regional escalation.
Yes. Mr. Baloukji, Katz has already started accusing the Lebanese President Joseph Aoun of procrastination regarding disarmament. How would you assess the Lebanese government's progress on this issue? What is Beirut's official strategy for managing the growing external pressure?
The Lebanese president or the executive administration, they cannot be accused of anything. Yeah, they have the decisions, but they are trying to deal with Hezbollah with pressure, and they have used lots of things to try to get Hezbollah to comply, and because of the control in Lebanon, and so they are trying to deal with this softly. But it's been a year now of trying to have a peaceful implementation and a soft implementation, but the government does not have a military resolution, and so yeah, the Lebanese government is waiting for some negotiations around USA negotiations that will facilitate things with the Hezbollah, and maybe the on ground negotiations between maybe they will have some on ground negotiations between Lebanon and Israel, like what happened before, but they were indirect actually between Israel and Lebanon. But so far the Iranian resolution is hard, and it will affect Lebanon, and so the executive administration with the prime minister and the president, this will be hard on them. But decision making here isn't just from one place or from one. It needs to be like a building on blocks, and so yeah, Hezbollah need to try to give their arms easily, and so maybe now we have around 30 to 40% of their arms given up, and maybe they will try to get something out of this, especially in Lebanon through any negotiations, and especially after the military, they need some advantages in case of any military operations, because then that will be hard to get anything out of it. And so pressuring Lebanon, actually there is military pressure, and Hezbollah and the two parties are trying to get as much advantages in Lebanon and some terms to protect it in the future before going to the negotiations point, but I don't think that's going to get anytime soon.
Mr. Yunus, you've mentioned that probably one of the reasons of these threats and the military strikes, the Israeli military strikes in Lebanon, is to test the resolve of the international partners. Now, we see mediation efforts have intensified, particularly by Egypt, alongside the American pressure tactics. Now, how do these parallel diplomatic tracks interact? To what extent can they help de-escalate the situation?
Egypt traditionally acts as a regional broker trusted by multiple sides, including Palestinian factions and to some extent Hezbollah's allies. So its diplomacy focuses on dialogue, ceasefire arrangements, and humanitarian coordination. So the United States, on the other hand, wields its influence mainly through political and economic pressure, particularly on Israel and the Lebanese government. So to steer these decisions in line with its broader regional interests, these tracks often complement each other in practice, even if they operate with different tones and methods. Egypt's role helps create openings for negotiations that the US alone could not achieve. So especially in Arab political circles, Meanwhile, Washington's leverage can give those negotiations weight, ensuring that any agreement is backed by international guarantees or financial incentives. So when the two work in tandem, they can build, I think, a framework that combines local dialogue with global enforcement. So there are limits. The success of these diplomatic efforts depends heavily on whether Israel and Hezbollah see the escalation as serving their immediate interests. So if either side believes it can gain more through continued confrontation, even the strongest mediation will struggle. So Egypt can calm tensions temporarily, but without a shared political vision or security guarantees. These deals often fail to hold for long. So the intensification of both Egyptian and American efforts is a positive sign. It reflects recognition that the situation is dangerously close to spinning out of control. If these efforts can lead to even a temporary freeze in hostilities, it may open a narrow window for broader negotiations or broader arrangements and disarmament mechanisms.
Yes. Mr. Baluchi, from your vast military and strategic experience, what is the single clearest military action, either by Israel or Hezbollah, that would be the unmistakable red line triggering a full-scale war?
There are no red lines. After the deterrence is in the favor of Israel, it is taking the over the ground and over the airfield as well. In the latest 10 days, we had 14 martyrs from Hezbollah. And so Hezbollah is trying as best as they can to reach a point that is destructive, but they don't have the power so now. But what's more important for Hezbollah is the financial side. Also, they still have some arms through the funding and through the faction transactions. And so we need some Egyptian initiative. We need more points in the Egyptian initiative, but because of the latest Israeli aggression, this actually stalled things, and they were asking for a special initiative for a truce from the two parties. But Israel can't do this because they are not sure how powerful Hezbollah might get through these 3 months. And so this will be, of course, refused. And so up till now, the military situation here, the Lebanese military is deployed and they are working on the technical level, but there is no balance. Israel has taken over the airfield. They're kind of controlling the UNIFIL, and so the mechanism committee are hanging basically now. They're working once every 2 weeks instead of twice a week, and so we're waiting for updates. And on the military level, I think there will be escalation goals, targeting officials and so on, but they will still not be that broad. Maybe in North Al-Bakka or towards the facilities and the airport also. And I don't think they will go further than this, or maybe they will broaden things a bit in the south. And yeah, we need an initiative, as I said, and we need a resolution from the US as well. Israel is taking advantage of the fact that Iran can't do anything about this right now, and there and then that there is no naturalization now. And so yes, we need some balance between Hezbollah and Israel, and the Lebanese government need to read the situation carefully and to calculate their next steps.
Mr. Marcel Baloukji, the military and strategic expert, and Mr. Ahmed Yunus, the researcher and political analyst. Gentlemen, thank you both for your special insights and your valuable discussion. That brings us to the end of today's episode of Think Tank. I'm Hani Saif. Thank you for joining us.